Ambassador Hansol stood in the grand chamber of Nexus Prime and looked at the alien faces staring down at him. 47 different species sat in the circular room, all watching him with eyes that showed no respect. He had been coming to this place for 18 months trying to make peace. Today he finally understood the truth. The war had started by accident. Human colony ships had entered space that the aliens claimed belonged to them. There were fights. Ships were destroyed. People died on both sides. Hansol came here to stop the fighting and make things right, but the Council did not want peace. They wanted surrender. High Arbiter Velthax spoke from his high seat. His voice was cold and hard. Humans will give us all military ships outside your home system. Humans will let us control where you go and what you do. Humans will pay us 40% of everything Earth makes for 100 years. You have 48 hours to accept. Hansol kept his face calm. Inside, anger burned. He had offered fair terms many times. Share the disputed space. Both sides reduce military forces. Work together on trade and science. Every time the Council said no without even thinking about it. Senator Kimura, an ancient alien who had lived for 3,000 years, added more demands. Humans must also accept changes to your biology. Your species is too aggressive, too dangerous. We will help you become more peaceful. The words hit Hansol like a physical blow. They wanted to change what humans were, not just control their actions, but change their very nature. He looked at Dr. Teho, his chief science advisor. The doctor's face was pale with shock. Captain Dayun stood near the door, watching everything. She was in charge of security for the human delegation. Her hand moved slightly, touching the communication device hidden under her uniform. She had found something important and needed to tell Hansol privately. Hansol asked for a short break. The Council agreed, confident that the humans would have to accept their terms. What choice did humanity have? The Council had been ruling the galaxy for 3,000 years. They had 47 species working together. Humans were alone. In a private room, Daun showed Hansol what she had discovered. Her team had intercepted secret military communications. Council fleets were already positioned around Earth and every human colony. This meeting was not a negotiation. It was a trap. The Council planned to attack no matter what the humans said. They think we are weak, Daun said quietly. They think we will surrender because we have no choice. Hansol looked at the data on the screen. Years of careful diplomacy had been wasted. The Council never intended to treat humans as equals. They saw humanity as children who needed to be controlled or animals that needed to be tamed. He thought about Earth, about the billions of people who trusted him to protect them, about the colonies where humans had built new homes on distant worlds, about his own children who deserved to grow up free. Dr. Teho spoke carefully. If we walk away from these talks, they will attack. They have made that clear. They will attack anyway, Hansol replied. The only question is whether we face them on our knees or on our feet. He made his decision. For 18 months he had been patient. He had been diplomatic. He had tried every possible way to find peace. The Council had mistaken his patience for weakness. That mistake would cost them dearly. Hansol walked back into the Council chamber. Every alien representative watched him, expecting him to accept their demands. After all, what else could he do? He stood in the center of the great room and spoke 5 words. Humanity withdraws from these proceedings. Silence fell across the chamber. Then chaos erupted. Aliens shouted in dozens of languages. Velthax rose from his seat, his face showing rage. You dare refuse the Council? You will be destroyed. Hansol looked up at the High Arbiter. When he spoke, his voice was quiet but clear. For 18 months I have tried to make peace with you. I offered you friendship. I offered you fair terms. You treated me with contempt. You threatened my people. You planned to attack us while pretending to negotiate. He paused, letting his words sink in. You have mistaken our patience for weakness. You have mistaken our desire for peace as fear of war. You have made a terrible mistake. And now you will learn the truth about humanity. Hansol turned and walked toward the exit. Captain Dayun and Dr. Teho followed him. Behind them, the Council chamber filled with angry voices. Threats were shouted. Promises of destruction were made. As the doors closed behind the human delegation, Hansol sent a single coded message back to Earth. 2 words that would change everything. Thunder authorized. The Council thought they knew what humanity was capable of. They had studied human ships and weapons. They had analyzed human military strength. They believed humans were weak and primitive. They were wrong about everything. Grand Admiral Thexrin stood in the Council war room and looked at the holographic display showing human space. Red markers indicated human colonies. Blue markers showed Council fleet positions. Everything was going according to plan. They actually walked out, one of the junior officers said with disbelief. They think they can defy us. Thexrin had fought in 12 major campaigns during his long military career. He had never lost a battle. This would not be his first defeat. The humans were fools if they thought they could stand against the combined might of the Galactic Council. High Arbiter Velthax entered the room, his face still showing anger from the failed negotiations. "How long until we can crush them?" he demanded. "Our fleets are already in position," Thexrin replied. "We have 2,000 warships ready to strike. The humans have perhaps 200 ships total. We outnumber them 10 to 1. We will blockade Earth, seize their colonies, and capture their leadership within 1 week." Intelligence Director Sylvanoth studied the display with worried eyes. Something felt wrong. He had been tracking human activities for years, and there were gaps in the data. "Large gaps. Grand Admiral," Sylvanoth said carefully, "I request permission to delay the attack. My team has identified several concerning factors. Human technology has been developing faster than expected. Several of their military installations have disappeared from our sensors. The ship designs they showed us do not match some vessels we have detected at long range." Velthax waved his hand dismissively. "Humans are primitive. They have been in space for barely 3 centuries. We have been spacefaring for 3,000 years. Your sensors are probably malfunctioning." Senator Kimura, who had been listening quietly, spoke in her ancient voice. "I have guided younger species to civilization for longer than most of you have been alive. Humans are like all young races, aggressive, ambitious, and ultimately controllable. We have done this successfully hundreds of times before." Sylvanoth wanted to argue more, but he knew it was useless. The Council had made up their minds. They saw what they wanted to see, a weak species that needed to be put in its place. The truth was different. Sylvanoth's intelligence teams had been finding strange things. Human ships that moved faster than their reported engines should allow. Weapons tests that produced energy signatures far beyond what humans should possess. Communications that used encryption his best experts could not break. Most troubling were the reports from deep space monitoring stations. Several stations near human territory had simply stopped transmitting. When Council ships went to investigate, they found nothing. The stations were gone. Not destroyed, just gone. But Velthax did not want to hear about mysteries. He wanted a quick, decisive victory. The Council needed to show the entire galaxy what happened when someone defied their authority. "We move forward as planned," Thexrin announced. "Battle Group 7 will establish the blockade at the human colony of New Sejong. Battle Groups 3 and 5 will secure the mining colonies. Battle Group 1 will move on Earth itself." The officers in the room cheered. This would be easy. Glorious. A simple police action against an upstart species. Only Sylvanoth remained silent, staring at the display. He had a very bad feeling about this. Across the galaxy aboard the human flagship Indomitable, Ambassador Han Sol received the reports. Council fleets were moving. Everything was happening exactly as Captain Da-Yun had predicted. "They think this will be easy," Da-Yun said. She stood at the tactical display, watching the Council ships move into position. "They think they know what we have." "Let them think that," Han Sol replied. "Dr. Tejo, is everything ready?" The scientist nodded. "All stealth units are in position. The Ghost Fleet is ready. Our defense systems are fully active. They still show as civilian installations on Council sensors." Han Sol thought about the last 18 months. While he had been negotiating, appearing patient and willing to compromise, Earth had been preparing. Not preparing to surrender. Preparing to survive. The Council made assumptions based on pride. They assumed humans would develop technology the same way they had. They assumed humans would build military forces using Council doctrines. They assumed humans would fight according to established galactic rules of warfare. Every assumption was wrong. Humanity had learned bitter lessons during its own history. Lessons about survival. Lessons about innovation. Lessons about doing whatever was necessary to protect your home and your people. While the Council showed off their military might with massive fleets and traditional tactics, Humans had been developing weapons and strategies the Council never imagined. Things that broke the rules. Things that should not be possible. How long until they reach New Sejong? Han Sol asked. 12 hours, Da-un replied. Commander Ji-woo and the Ghost Fleet are waiting. The Council ships have no idea what is about to hit them. Han Sol nodded slowly. He took no pleasure in what was coming. War was terrible even when necessary, but the Council had given him no choice. Send the authorization, he said quietly. Let them begin. The message went out across human space, traveling faster than light through quantum communication networks the Council did not know existed. In orbit around New Sejong, Commander Ji-woo received the signal. She looked at her crew. This is it. The Council thinks we are weak. Let us teach them the truth. The trap was set. The Council was walking right into it. Battle Group 7 emerged from faster-than-light travel at the edge of the New Sejong system. 83 Council warships representing the military might of a dozen different species. Their sensors began scanning the system immediately. Commander Raxel of the Council fleet studied his displays. I see merchant vessels, mining stations, civilian habitats. No military presence detected, his tactical officer agreed. The colony appears undefended, Commander. This will be easy, Raxel felt satisfied. The humans were not even trying to resist. Perhaps they would see reason after all. Take us into orbit. Prepare to broadcast surrender terms. The Council ships moved deeper into the system. Around them, civilian vessels went about their business. Nothing seemed threatening. Nothing seemed unusual. Then everything changed. One of the merchant ships suddenly transformed. Hull plates retracted, revealing massive weapons. The mining station nearest to the fleet lit up with targeting systems. What had looked like a simple habitat station began moving under its own power, rotating to bring weapons to bear. Weapons lock, the tactical officer shouted. Multiple targets. They were hiding. Raxel barely had time to give the order to raise shields before the humans opened fire. The first salvo destroyed 12 Council ships instantly. Kinetic projectiles moving at speeds that should have been impossible punched through shields as if they were not there. Plasma weapons operating at temperatures the Council considered theoretical melted armor like wax. Return fire, Raxel ordered, but his ships were in chaos. Their sensors could not track the human weapons. Their defensive systems could not respond fast enough. Ships that had been built to dominate any battlefield found themselves helpless. Then Commander Ji-woo's Ghost Fleet arrived. They appeared without warning, seeming to materialize from nowhere. Ships unlike anything in the Council database. Sleek, fast, deadly. They had been hiding in the asteroid field, invisible to Council sensors, using stealth technology that should not exist. Ji-woo sat in her command chair, watching the tactical display. All units fire at will. Show them what humanity has built. Her ships moved through the battle like dancers. They dodged Council weapons with impossible precision. Their own weapons struck with devastating accuracy. Every shot found its target. Every target died. The Council crews fought bravely. They had trained for years. They followed their doctrines and used their standard tactics. But everything they did was wrong. They were fighting a war they knew how to win. Humanity was fighting a different war entirely. Human ships used quantum drives that let them jump short distances instantly. They used adaptive camouflage that made them nearly invisible. They used electronic warfare systems that turned Council ships against each other. They used weapons that ignored traditional defenses. Raxel watched his fleet die around him. This could not be happening. Humans were supposed to be primitives. They were supposed to be weak. How did they have this technology? How did they know how to fight like this? Commander, we must retreat, his tactical officer said urgently. We have lost over 60 ships. This is a massacre, Raxel gave the order. The surviving Council ships turned and ran. The human vessels did not pursue. They simply watched the Council fleet flee, their weapons still tracking every ship until they jumped away. The battle had lasted 47 minutes. Of 83 Council ships, only 22 escaped. 4 human defense platforms had taken minor damage. There were no human casualties. On Nexus Prime, Grand Admiral Thexrin received the battle reports. He read them 3 times, refusing to believe what he was seeing. This was impossible. Completely impossible. Intelligence Director Sylvanoth stood beside him, his face grim. Now will you listen to my warnings? The humans have been lying to us from the beginning. Every technology assessment we made was based on false data. They showed us what they wanted us to see. How could we have missed this? Thexrin demanded. They are cleverer than we thought, Sylvanoth replied. While Ambassador Hansol was negotiating and appearing reasonable, their military was preparing. Every ship we analyzed was deliberately outdated. Every base we monitored was a decoy. Their real military strength was hidden. He pulled up new intelligence on the display. We estimated they had 200 warships. My analysts now believe they have over 3,000. We thought their technology was decades behind ours. In reality, they are decades ahead in many areas. How? Thexrin asked. They have only been in space for 3 centuries. They developed faster than we expected, Sylvanoth explained. While we assumed they would follow the same technological path we did, they innovated. They tried things we dismissed as impossible. They weaponized concepts we abandoned as impractical. They thought differently than we do. High Arbiter Velthax entered the room. This changes nothing. We have thousands more ships. We will crush them with overwhelming numbers. Sylvanoth looked at him with disbelief. Did you not hear what I said? We have been completely wrong about everything. We do not know what else they have hidden. We do not understand their full capabilities. Then we learn, Velthax said coldly, and we adapt. But we do not surrender. The Council has ruled this galaxy for 3,000 years. We will not be defeated by one upstart species. He turned to Thexrin. Deploy everything. I want every available ship committed to this campaign. Humanity must be destroyed before they grow any stronger. Sylvanoth said nothing. He had warned them. They had not listened. Now thousands would die because of their arrogance. The Council launched their largest military offensive in 500 years. 12 colonies would be attacked simultaneously. Over 1,000 warships deployed. 500,000 soldiers prepared for ground combat. Grand Admiral Thexrin was certain this overwhelming force would break human resistance. He was wrong. Humans did not fight the way the Council expected. They did not gather their fleets for massive battles. They did not try to hold territory against superior numbers. Instead, they disappeared. Council fleets would arrive at a target system ready for war and find nothing. No ships, no defenses, just empty space. Then, when the Council forces spread out to search, human ships would appear from nowhere, strike hard, and vanish before the Council could respond. Lieutenant Hyojin coordinated the psychological warfare campaign. She made sure that every Council soldier heard the stories. Stories of human ships that could appear inside enemy vessels. Stories of weapons that killed crews but left ships intact. Stories of human soldiers who could survive in the vacuum of space. Most of the stories were not true. But the Council soldiers did not know that. Fear spread through their ranks like a disease. They jumped at shadows. They fired at sensor ghosts. They began to doubt everything. Council General Cormath commanded ground forces on an occupied colony world. His troops had taken the planet easily. Too easily. The human colonists had simply evacuated. Now his soldiers waited for the attack they knew was coming. It came at night, not a frontal assault, not an invasion. Just chaos. Supply depots exploded. Communication towers stopped working. Vehicles lost power. Weapons malfunctioned. And through it all, Council soldiers saw brief glimpses of human figures that vanished like ghosts. Cormath knew military history. He recognized what was happening. The humans were not trying to win through superior force. They were trying to make the occupation impossible. Make it expensive. Make it painful. Make the Council forces want to leave. It was working. Back on Nexus Prime, the Council leadership watched their grand offensive fall apart. Supply lines were disrupted. Communication networks were compromised. Entire fleets lost track of where they were supposed to be. The humans were not just fighting. They were confusing, disrupting, and demoralizing. Then the Council made their final mistake. They decided to attack Earth itself. If we take their homeworld, the war ends, Velthax declared. Humanity will have no choice but to surrender. The Council committed their strategic reserve. 847 warships, the largest single fleet assembled in decades. They jumped into the Sol system ready to force Earth's surrender. General Bora watched them arrive. She stood in the command center deep beneath Earth's surface, surrounded by displays showing every ship, every weapon, every defense system protecting humanity's homeworld. Activate the grid, she ordered calmly. The Council fleet suddenly found themselves surrounded. Weapons platforms that had been hidden as asteroids came online. Defense stations that had looked like civilian habitats revealed their true nature. Minefields that had been invisible activated. The entire Sol system was a fortress. The Council attacked anyway. They had committed too much to turn back. For 3 days the battle raged. Council ships fought desperately, bravely but hopelessly. Dr. Sangwoo deployed weapons his team had been developing for years. Experimental systems that disrupted Council ships' power systems. Missiles that could change direction in impossible ways. Energy beams that passed through shields as if they did not exist. The moon, which the Council thought was just a natural satellite, revealed itself as a massive military installation. Weapons emerged from hidden facilities. Entire sections of the lunar surface opened up to launch fighter craft. Mars contributed its own surprises. Thousands of autonomous combat drones swarmed from bases hidden in canyons and craters. Each drone was small, fast, and lethal. They moved in coordinated patterns that overwhelmed Council targeting systems. By the 3rd day, the Council fleet was broken. Ships began breaking off, trying to escape. Bora let them go. She had proven her point. Earth could not be taken. The final count was devastating. 612 Council ships destroyed. Thousands of soldiers dead. The survivors retreated in complete disorder. Earth had taken damage. Some outlying stations had been destroyed. There were casualties among the defense forces. But the planet itself was untouched. The Council's greatest offensive had failed completely. Across the galaxy, member species of the Council began asking difficult questions. Why were they fighting this war? How many more would die? Was this worth the cost? General Cormath sent a secret message to Ambassador Hansol. I wish to discuss terms for the surrender of my forces, it said simply. He was not the only Council officer making such contact. The Council coalition was fracturing. Different species began questioning whether Velthax's leadership was worth following. Some wanted peace, some wanted revenge, some simply wanted to go home. Velthax refused to see reality. One more offensive, he insisted. One more push. We can still win this. But even his closest allies were beginning to doubt. Senator Kimura looked at the casualty reports and felt something she had not experienced in centuries. Uncertainty. Perhaps they had been wrong about the humans. Perhaps this war had been a terrible mistake. On the indomitable, Ambassador Hansol met with his advisors. The Council is breaking, Dr. Tejo reported. Multiple species are seeking separate peace agreements. We could push forward, Captain Daun said. Strike their core worlds. Force unconditional surrender. Hansol shook his head. That is not why we fought this war. We fought for respect, not conquest. Now we must decide. Do we become the thing we fought against? Prime Minister Junho stood before the United Earth Command and asked the question that would define humanity's future. We have won this war. Now we must decide what winning means. The room was silent. Military officers, political leaders, and scientific advisors all waited to hear what others thought. They had fought for survival. They had achieved victory. What came next? Admiral Yunseo spoke first. We should press our advantage. Strike their core worlds. Force complete surrender. Remake the galactic order with humanity at its center. They started this war. They should pay the price, many in the room nodded. The Council had threatened Earth. They had tried to control humanity. They had killed thousands. Why should they be shown mercy? Dr. Tejo disagreed. We did not fight this war to become conquerors. We fought for the right to exist as free people. If we destroy the Council and rule through fear, we become exactly what we fought against. They tried to change our biology, someone pointed out angrily. They wanted to remake us into something controllable. Why should we forgive that? Ambassador Hansol had been listening quietly. Now he stood. I propose a third path. We demonstrate overwhelming superiority. We show them we could destroy them if we wished. Then we offer honorable terms. We turn our enemy into our partner through strength and mercy. They will see mercy as weakness, Admiral Yunseo protested. Not if we first show them our strength, Hansol replied. Captain Dawn, can you execute Operation Checkmate? Dayun smiled grimly. Yes, we have ships in position. We can demonstrate our capabilities without firing a single shot. The vote was close, but Hansol's approach won. Operation Checkmate began immediately. Across the galaxy on the same day at the same hour, human ships appeared in orbit of every Council homeworld. Not to attack, simply to be there. To show that they could have attacked if they had wished. For 24 hours, humanity held every major council planet hostage. Their weapons were powered down. Their ships remained in high orbit. They made no threats. They simply waited. Then, exactly 24 hours later, every human ship vanished simultaneously. One moment they were there. The next moment they were gone. The message was clear. Humanity could have ended the council. They chose not to. The decision of what happened next belonged to the council. Back on Earth, the demonstration caused unexpected problems. Many humans were furious. They wanted vengeance for the war. They wanted the council to suffer. They wanted justice. Prime Minister Junho's approval ratings fell sharply. Political opponents accused him of weakness. Military officers questioned his leadership. Economic advisors warned that showing mercy would invite future challenges. "You are making a mistake," one senator told him. "The galaxy respects strength, not kindness. If we do not crush them completely, others will see us as weak." Junho stood firm. "If we win through terror, we will rule through terror forever. That is not the future I want for our children. We will offer peace from a position of strength." Lieutenant Heijin discovered something troubling during her intelligence work. Hardline factions within Earth's government were planning something dangerous. They wanted to assassinate moderate council leaders and blame it on extremists. This would force a war of total extermination. She brought the evidence to Captain Daon. "What do we do? If we expose this, it could cause civil unrest. People will think their own government is divided." Dahyun made the hard choice. Expose it. Truth is more important than appearance. Besides, if we are asking the council to be honest about their mistakes, we must be honest about ours. The conspiracy was revealed. Several high-ranking officials were arrested. The public was shocked, but most understood. War brought out the worst in people sometimes. The important thing was stopping it before it went too far. Ambassador Han Sol prepared his final message to the council. He knew this was the most important communication of his life. Every word mattered. He recorded the message himself, speaking directly to the camera. His voice was calm but firm. "Members of the Galactic Council, for 18 months I tried to make peace with you. You rejected every offer. You threatened my people. You started a war you thought you would win easily." He paused, letting the words sink in. "You were wrong. We have defeated your fleets. We have defended our worlds. We have shown you that humanity cannot be controlled or conquered. But we have also shown you something else. We have shown you mercy." Another pause. "We could have destroyed your homeworlds. We did not. We could have demanded your unconditional surrender. We will not. We offer you one final opportunity for peace. Not the peace of master and servant. The peace of equals. Meet us as partners or we will end this war alone." He leaned forward slightly. "You have 72 hours to decide. Choose wisely. Humanity is done asking for respect. We have earned it. The question is whether you have the wisdom to acknowledge that fact." The message was broadcast on every channel. Every species in the galaxy heard it. Every being capable of understanding language knew what it meant. Humanity had won the war. Now the council had to decide whether they would win the peace. The galaxy held its breath and waited. The council chambers on Nexus Prime had never been so quiet. Representatives from 47 species sat in their seats, but no one spoke. They were waiting for someone to begin the discussion that everyone feared. High Arbiter Velthax did not attend. He had retreated to his homeworld after the disaster at Earth. Without him, the council had no clear leader. Everyone looked at Senator Kimura. The ancient being sat in her seat, her eyes distant. She had lived for 3,000 years. She had guided hundreds of species to civilization. She had helped build the council into the greatest force for peace the galaxy had ever known. And now, because of her pride, it was all falling apart. Finally, she spoke. Her voice was soft but clear. "We failed. Not because humans were strong, because we were blind." The admission shocked everyone. Senator Kimura never admitted mistakes. Intelligence Director Sylvanoth stood. He had been waiting for this moment. "With your permission, I will explain exactly how we failed." He activated the central display. It showed the entire diplomatic history between humans and the council. Every meeting, every proposal, every rejection. "Ambassador Han Sol came to us 18 months ago," Sylvanoth began. "His proposals were reasonable. Share disputed space. Reduce military forces on both sides. Work together on trade and science. We rejected every offer. They were invaders, someone protested. They entered our space without permission. The space was disputed, Sylvanoth corrected. 3 different species claimed it. Humans had as much right to be there as anyone, but we refused to see them as equals. We saw them as children who needed discipline. He brought up more data. Every technological assessment we made was wrong. We analyzed ships they wanted us to see. We studied weapons they deliberately showed us. Meanwhile, their real military was developing in secret. Ambassador Tholrax, a junior diplomat who specialized in human culture, added his analysis. We misunderstood them completely. Human civilization developed under constant threat: war, disease, environmental disaster. They learned to adapt or die. Their entire history is about survival through innovation. We evolved in a peaceful galaxy, he continued. The Council protected us. We never had to fight for survival the way humans did. When Ambassador Hansol asked for respect, we heard weakness. When he offered compromise, we saw fear. We were completely wrong. The council chamber erupted in debate. Some wanted to continue fighting. Some wanted to surrender immediately. Some wanted to negotiate. The unity that had held the council together for 3,000 years was breaking. Councillor Nexvara, who had opposed the war from the beginning, proposed a new approach. This crisis is also an opportunity. The council has become rigid. We assumed our way was the only way. Humans have proven us wrong. Perhaps we can learn from them. Learn from them? Someone asked incredulously. They are barely 3 centuries old. And in 3 centuries they achieved what took us 3,000 years, Nexvara replied. Perhaps age is not the same as wisdom. General Kormath entered the chamber. He had been recalled from the occupied colony world. I have fought humans, he said quietly. They are not monsters. They are not conquerors. They are people protecting their homes, just as we would do in their place. He looked around the room. We can continue this war. More will die. Our economies will collapse. Our people will suffer. And in the end, we will lose. Or we can accept the truth now and save lives. The debate continued for 2 days. Arguments were made. Tempers flared. Some species threatened to leave the council entirely. Others demanded total war until humanity was destroyed. Finally, Senator Kimura called for silence. She stood and everyone stopped talking. When she spoke, her voice carried the weight of 3,000 years. I have lived long enough to become what I most feared: inflexible, arrogant, blind to change. We treated humans as children because we could not imagine them as peers. We demanded submission because we confused order with justice. We started this war because we were afraid. She paused, looking at each representative in turn. Afraid of what? Afraid that if one species could defy us successfully, our entire system would collapse. Afraid that perhaps we were not as wise as we believed. Afraid that the galaxy was changing and we could not change with it. Humanity offers us peace, not from weakness but from strength. They offer us partnership as equals. The question we face is simple. Do we have the courage to accept? She sat down. The chamber was completely silent. The vote was called. 38 species voted to accept humanity's offer. 9 voted to continue the war. It was enough. A message was prepared and sent to Ambassador Hansol. It was short and honest. We accept your terms. We acknowledge our mistakes. We were wrong about humanity. We were wrong about many things. We request the honor of meeting you as equals to discuss peace. On the indomitable, Hansol read the message. He felt no triumph, no satisfaction, only relief. The killing could stop. They accepted, he told his advisors. Now the real work begins, Captain Daun smiled. Winning the war was the easy part. Winning the peace will be much harder. Yes, Hansol agreed, but it will be worth it. For the first time in galactic history, different species will meet as true equals. That is what we fought for. He sent his reply to the council. We accept your acceptance. Let us build something better together. The new diplomatic station was called Unity. It floated in neutral space, built jointly by human and council engineers. Ambassador Hansol and Senator Kimura walked through its corridors together, an old soldier and an ancient being who had learned to see each other clearly. The peace negotiations took 6 months. It was slow work. Humans and council members had to learn to trust each other. Old wounds took time to heal. But slowly, carefully, they built something new. The Treaty of Unity established revolutionary principles. All species had equal voice, regardless of age or power. Expansion rights were based on capability and need, not council permission. Military forces were limited but respected as sovereign rights. Cultural practices were protected but not imposed. Dr. Tejo worked with Ambassador Thalrax to create the Institute for Cross-Species Understanding. The goal was simple: prevent future conflicts through education and cultural exchange. Help different species understand each other before problems became wars. But the hardest work was reconciliation. Thousands had died on both sides. Worlds had been damaged. Families had lost loved ones. Trust had been shattered. Captain Daun worked with General Cormath to establish truth and reconciliation protocols. Both sides had to acknowledge what they had done. Council forces had to admit they started an unjust war. Humans had to admit they had sometimes been more brutal than necessary in defending themselves. It was painful. Some humans demanded retribution. Some council members refused to accept humanity as equals. Prime Minister Junho and Councillor Nexavara both faced internal opposition as they worked toward lasting peace. High Arbiter Velthax issued a public apology before retiring from politics. "I led the council into this war through pride and fear," he said. "I failed my people. I am sorry." It was not enough for everyone, but it was a start. Grand Admiral Thexrin accepted a position training mixed human council military units. He taught council officers to respect human tactics. He taught human officers to appreciate council discipline. Slowly, former enemies became colleagues. The council restructured itself as the Galactic Federation. Humanity joined as an equal founding member. Decision-making shifted from hierarchy to consensus. Military power was balanced against diplomatic influence. Commander Jiwoo led joint human-alien exploration missions into unknown space. Her crews included veterans from both sides of the conflict. They learned to work together, discovering new worlds as partners rather than rivals. Lieutenant He Jin became chief of the new Federation Intelligence Service. Her job was to ensure transparency and prevent future misunderstandings. No more secrets, no more hidden fleets, no more lies that led to war. Dr. Sangwoo's weapons research was converted to defensive applications and shared with Federation members. Technology that had been designed to kill was redesigned to protect. General Bora commanded the Federation Rapid Response Force, made up of volunteers from 30 different species. 5 years after the war ended, Ambassador Hansol and Senator Kimura stood together at a memorial ceremony. The monument honored all who had died in the conflict, both human and alien. The inscription read simply, "War taught us the cost of pride. Peace teaches us the value of respect." Hansol retired from diplomatic service. He had done what he set out to do. Humanity had not just survived. They had earned their place in the galaxy with dignity and strength. He returned to Earth and wrote his memoirs, ensuring future generations understood why standing firm on principle mattered. Senator Kimura stepped down from her council position, but remained active as an advisor. She spent her final years teaching young diplomats from all species. Her most important lesson was simple: certainty is dangerous, humility is essential. Captain Da-Yun took command of the Federation flagship. Her crew included veterans from both sides of the conflict. They worked together toward common purpose, proving that former enemies could become friends. 20 years after the war, young diplomats from dozens of species studied the conflict as a case study. They analyzed Ambassador Hansol's strategy, firm principles, overwhelming capability, and merciful victory. They studied Senator Kimura's transformation, from arrogant certainty to humble wisdom. Most importantly, they learned that peace was not the absence of conflict. Peace was the presence of mutual respect. Humanity did not win by conquering the Council. They won by forcing the Council to see them clearly. The galaxy had changed. Humanity was no longer newcomers seeking acceptance. They were established partners commanding respect. The Council had transformed from rigid hierarchy to flexible partnership. The greatest achievement was not military victory or diplomatic success. It was the fundamental shift in how species related to each other. Humanity proved that strength without arrogance was possible. The Council learned that wisdom included admitting mistakes. On a warm afternoon on Earth, an elderly Hansol sat with his grandchildren. They asked him about the war. He told them the truth. "We fought because we had to," he said. "We won because we were prepared. But the real victory was what came after. We turned enemies into partners. We built something better than what existed before. Was it worth it? One child asked. All the fighting and dying? Hansel thought carefully before answering. War is never good. But sometimes it is necessary. We tried every peaceful option first. When they would not listen to words, we had to show them through actions. What made it worth it was not the victory. It was what we built afterward. Across the galaxy, on dozens of worlds, similar conversations were happening. Parents telling children about the war. Teachers explaining what happened. Historians analyzing the lessons. And slowly, a new generation grew up. They did not remember the war. They only knew the peace. Human children played with alien children. Different species worked together on projects that benefited everyone. The old divisions faded. In that clear sight, in that mutual respect, both humanity and the Council found something better than victory. They found partnership. They found understanding. They found peace.